And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, fireworks on Capitol Hill. More than a week after Donald Trump was nearly assassinated, Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle is refusing to step down or even provide simple, basic, fundamental answers, 9 days after the shooting? A complete dereliction of duty. She should be fired. She should have been fired. Her lack of answers, it is repulsive. It is dangerous to the country. Now, we're going to bring you all the highlights and reaction. Jim Jordan, James Comer, all coming up. But tonight, we begin at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where once again, the lights are on, but nobody's home. It has been more than 24 hours since Joe Biden announced that he was ending his re-election bid. In a short letter, Biden is purportedly in Delaware, but we haven't seen him in days. In fairness, he did have COVID. He did call into a campaign event for Kamala Harris and sounded, frankly, awful. And by the way, take a listen.
To be real clear, we're still fighting in this fight together. I'm not going anywhere. And I want you to know you've always had my back, and I promise you, I will always have your back. And I'm anxious for you all to hear from Kamala.
Now, Biden has been under the weather with COVID for about a week now. And during that time, the elites in his own party successfully booted him from the ticket. You know, Washington elites, Nantucket elites, Hollywood elites. They did it with 56 days until early voting begins in Pennsylvania, then rolls out around the country. 106 days until the election. And yet, for some reason, Biden refuses to step down as president, even though he is so obviously incapable, unable to perform the basic duties of his job, and hasn't even bothered to phone it in this week. His schedule is almost completely empty. If he's not strong enough to run for president, he's not strong enough to be the president. For the safety of our country, for the safety of the world, the 25th Amendment needs to be invoked immediately. He must be removed from office, something, frankly, that should have happened a long time ago. Now, even Michael Moore is calling on him to resign from office. But now, well, the coronation of Kamala Harris is underway. Without a single primary vote to her name, the vice president has now been selected by that handful of elite party leaders to run for president. The results from this year's Democratic primary have been tossed in the trash. Voters be damned and completely disenfranchised. And like it or not, Kamala will now almost certainly represent the Democrats in November. And she is so grateful. Take a look.
Our president, Joe Biden, wanted to be here today. He is feeling much better and recovering fast, and he looks forward to getting back on the road. And I wanted to say a few words about our president. Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap.
All right, buckle up, because Democrats, the state-run media mob, they're now pitching Kamala as the second coming of Jesus, which I can assure you, she is not. The puff pieces, they're already being written. The accolades, they are pouring in from every radical, Democratic, leftist, socialist, Marxist in the country. The phony polls, I promise you, will follow, showing she is energizing Democrats. She might even be beating Donald Trump in a swing state or two, or maybe 3. Yet in reality, just last year, Pelosi, other top Democrats, go back 1 year. They openly were doubting whether or not Harris should even remain on the ticket with Biden. Take a look.
Is Vice President Kamala Harris the best running mate for this president?
He thinks so, and that's what matters. And by the way,
you think so?
She's very politically astute. I don't think people give her enough credit.
But do you think she is the best running mate, though?
She's the vice president of the United States. So when people say to me, well, why isn't she doing this or that? I said, because she's the vice president. That's the job description. You don't do that much.
I actually think it's a pretty simple question. Do you think Kamala Harris is the best running mate for President Biden? Yes or no?
I mean, I don't know what else I can say other than she would be
yes.
an excellent running mate and an excellent vice president.
She's running. She's absolutely vice president. How's that for a vote of confidence? Now, despite what you might hear in the coming days and weeks, Vice President Harris was long considered toxic to the Democratic Party. And just last week, an insider advantage, that's Matt Towery, his poll, showing Kamala down huge in a hypothetical matchup with Donald Trump in every battleground state. She was down by 10 in Georgia, down by 7 in Pennsylvania, down by 10 in Nevada, down by 6 in Arizona. Meanwhile, a recent Harris-Forbes poll shows Trump beating Kamala Harris by 9 points nationwide. Those polls will tighten. The media will race into a rescue. But in terms of her approval rating, no vice president in modern American history, not one, has polled worse than Kamala Harris. But don't worry, the same lying, corrupt state media mob, the same Democrats that lied about and covered up Joe's cognitive decline, they will be there. They will rescue her. They will bail her out. They will act like she is, the second coming. But what's behind the horrible numbers? Well, as Kamala likes to say, well, she didn't just fall out of a coconut tree. Take a look.
My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Oh, she loves, that's like her favorite line of all time. Yes, you're giggling, Vice President. You can't say on The View giggling, though, that hard-hitting news show, because they think that's sexist. Anyway, here's the context. Kamala Harris has a horrific track record, even worse public persona, and some have pointed out that Kamala Harris almost always sounds like somebody trying to give a book report for a book that they never read. Here's Exhibit A. Take a look.
When we talk about our children, I know for this group, we all believe that when we talk about the children of the community, they are children of the community. And in that way, we should all feel a direct sense of responsibility for their well-being.
When you talk about serving the community, you're talking about serving the community. So that was Kamala on children of the community. Now here's Kamala on transportation, so you can get to go where you need to go. Take a look.
Together, we are expanding access to transportation. Seems like maybe it's a small issue, it's a big issue. You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home. So we have expanded access to transportation, including what we need to do to invest in public transit.
You need to get to go where you need to get to go, because that's what transportation is. According to one Axios report, it appears that Kamala Harris has trouble in public because of her, general incompetence. At one point, she was so worried about an upcoming dinner at a D.C. news mogul's home that she had her staff, quote, they held a mock dinner beforehand with staffers playing participants. The report continues. Harris aides even considered including wine in the mock prep so Harris would practice with a glass or two. Proper sipping technique is very important. Unfortunately for her staff, this was probably not an enjoyable rehearsal. Quote, former Harris aides told Axios that the high turnover is partly because of how the vice president treats her staff. But despite everything we just showed you, Kamala's worst quality by far is her radical set of beliefs. And without a doubt, the Democrats have never nominated somebody this far radical, socialist, Marxist left. But don't take it from, let's take it from our own words. Let's do it that way. Here's Kamala.
So again, back to the United States Congress, here's my point. If they fail to act as President of the United States, I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster, to pass a Green New Deal. We have to have a secure border, but I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented and cross the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
But would you support changing the dietary guidelines?
Yes.
The food pyramid, what people
yes.
to reduce red meat specifically?
Yes, I would. And
plastic straws are a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should. Yes.
Now, if Kamala gets her way, you will no longer get to enjoy private health insurance or gas-powered vehicles or plastic straws. I don't know about you. I hate the paper straws. It'll ruin any drink. And if you think energy costs are bad now, just wait. If you think taxes are bad now, just wait. They're going to get much worse under Kamala Harris if she's ever elected. She literally supports the Green New Deal. She signed on as a sponsor of that very bill in the U.S. Senate. She also supports zero bail laws, even supported that bail fund 4 days after the burning down of that police precinct in Minneapolis. That was during the peaceful protests, the summer riots, the 574 of them in 2020. You know, individuals, because of her bail fund, they went from $250,000 to nearly $45 million. So many were bailed out with the help of Kamala Harris, and those people went on to commit unspeakable crimes, including murder and even, rapes, etc. If you really want to know how Kamala will govern, look at the border. She was tasked with the border. She was tasked with fixing illegal immigration, the crisis in this country. But she kept telling us for 3 years she lied and said the border was secure and the border was closed. But she only made it worse. More than nearly 11 million unvetted Biden-Harris illegal immigrants pouring into this country from nearly 180 countries, including terrorists, rapists, murderers, drug dealers, cartel members, other violent criminals. Kamala has blood on her hands, just like Joe Biden has blood on his hands. And still she has yet to provide a single solution, not one. And now she wants to be promoted to president. She made one trip to the border, but not any point that mattered. And make no mistake, she owns every single one of Joe Biden's horrendous policy failures, from the border to the economy to inflation to high energy prices to the disaster of a withdrawal out of Afghanistan, all the lawlessness in every small town and every big city in our country. And that brings us to another looming problem surrounding Kamala's candidacy. We now have complete and total confirmation she spent the last 4 years lying to all of you about Joe Biden and his cognitive state. She lied, she covered up, she was the liar in chief. Take a look.
We have a very bold and vibrant president in Joe Biden. The way that the president's demeanor in that report was characterized could not be more wrong on the facts and clearly politically motivated, gratuitous.
He is an extraordinary leader, and I wish that people could see what I see, because Joe Biden is very much alive and running for re-election.
If there was a problem...
I'm not lying.
If there was
I'm telling you a fact.
But if there ever is a problem,
yeah.
Do you think that you could go tell the American public? Do you think in your role that you're in a position to do that?
Of course, if necessary, but there's no need for that.
She had lunch with Joe Biden, we were told, every single week. They saw each other often. They appeared together at events frequently. Vice President Harris knew better, but she made the conscious decision to lie to you, to cover it up again and again and again. And of course, everyone in the Democratic Party, everyone in the state-run media mob, lied to your face for years. They are all corrupt to the core. They are completely dishonest. The only thing they know is they hate Donald Trump. They only started to tell the truth when it became obvious that Joe Biden was not going to win. Everyone has known about Joe's cognitive state for years. It's only an issue when they risk losing power, all because of it. Party elites, they didn't care the president was barely functioning. They just want a front man to say the right words, sign the right bills, while they work behind the scenes and implement their radical, far-left, socialist, Marxist agenda. That's why Harris has now tapped Obama loyalists, people like Eric Holder and David Plouffe, to lead her campaign. While Kamala Harris might soon be her party's nominee, it will be Democratic elites. It'll be the likes of Obama and Pelosi and Schumer and the Squad and the Congressional Black Caucus that supported her that will control the agenda. Kamala will just be another front person. Clearly, in the Democratic Party, democracy, the people mean nothing. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.